Hello everybody, here we are today talking about the Mikko Rantanen and Carolina Hurricanes drama and just kind of getting into that in today's video. But before we get started with it, please make sure to subscribe if you're new to me or hockey, whatever the case may be. Being said, let's get on into it. So we all know that Mikko ends up getting traded from Carolina to Dallas and things move pretty fast here. And in short, his Carolina Hurricanes tenure was pretty quick. He ends up getting acquired from the Colorado Avalanche. And the Hurricanes were hoping that he could be their guy to go out there and win them a Stanley Cup. And they were really hoping that they could convince him to sign an extension. And maybe they could be one of the top dogs, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the entire league for the next few years or foreseeable future. Ultimately, though, after just 12 games, everything kind of falls apart. And it's more of the aftermath where people are really focusing in on this. Things are kind of getting weird. And it is involving how committed maybe Mikko was from the get-go. So you have Rod Brindamore, head coach, that is seemingly well liked. The Athletic did an article where players anonymously talked about coaches that they would want to play for. And I believe he was number one in the league. He essentially said that Mikko said he didn't want to be there. And he was the only guy that he could really think of that didn't have a reason that he wouldn't want to be in Carolina. And it's awkward because then you hear about how, well, Mikko basically said, there's only 4 teams I want to play for. You guys aren't one of them. And then you have Mikko's agents kind of clapping back and saying, that's not totally true. Originally, we were, thinking about how things would work out in Carolina. And then Mikko realized, hey, this is not somewhere I want to be for the foreseeable future. I want out. And that does make sense from a certain extent. You may not be in love with a certain environment for your job and say, maybe I don't see myself in this position in 2 or 3 years. But at the same time, it just feels odd to me because how can you say that in such a short time and then at the same time never have played a game for the Dallas Stars and then sign that big extension, that 8-year deal where you see them with them now and then the 8-year deal kicks in. And I know a lot of people will say, well, it's the income tax and that's a big benefit here in this regard. But if you are a player that's talking about fit and talking about being in the right environment, you're able to make that decision beforehand instead of trying to ride it out with the Canes. I don't know. I mean, I think maybe it is a good thing where Carolina was able to get returned 2 first-round picks and then Logan Stankoven, but it still does stand out a little bit to me in this regard. And it is something that probably will be followed a little bit more, mainly more so for the Carolina Hurricanes about, are we able to go out there and keep star players? Because they went out there and they got Jake Guentzel last year. And for a variety of reasons, they end up trading him to Tampa Bay or his rights, and then Tampa Bay signs him an extension. And then just after that, you have Tulsky in his first year decide, hey, we want to go out there and get Mikko Rantanen. And then in nearly 10 games, nearly a handful of games, he comes to the conclusion that he doesn't want to be there. And that is a superstar that is lost before the playoffs even begin. And kind of paired with this, the Carolina Hurricanes are put in a really bad spot at the trade deadline where they understand they're only going to get so many games with Mikko probably, and it may not end the way they want. So they have to go out there and make a move. And because of that, it takes so long that they aren't really able to make any other moves. I think this is a serious blow as other teams, not only in their conference, but in the entirety of the league, look better. They look more dangerous. Teams like Colorado, teams like, of course, Dallas, teams like Tampa Bay, teams like Florida, they all probably stand a good chance to go out there and win the Cup. And Carolina is saying, we did all right. I mean, we got the first-round picks. We got Logan Stankoven. But are we any closer to winning the Stanley Cup today than we were a couple of days ago? Maybe, I don't know, that's kind of an opinion in your eyes, but looking at this, it is just very unfortunate, and it does kind of pose a serious threat for the Hurricanes because it's like, how risky do you want to get? Do you want to try to go out there and get another superstar? Do you want to try to go towards a depth route again? We've seen how that hasn't always worked out for the Hurricanes. I don't really know what you want to do because I think it is odd in a way. You have a coach that seems to be pretty likable. You have a GM that is not afraid of making big decisions. You have a group of players that have been there, again, multiple guys for a long time, that have shown that they can get nice amounts of money, and you have a winning culture. I just am not totally sure what the problem is here for the Carolina Hurricanes, and they may have to figure that out themselves. And I know some people say, well, it's not a big, traditional hockey market. Maybe it's not the most exciting place to be. The hockey market thing really doesn't stand out to me as much in all actuality. I think it might actually be better. You could make a decent amount of money, be on a team that is winning a lot of games, able to have good chemistry with the guys, and not have to feel that pressure of being in a big market. Maybe the nightlife, that could be kind of a bigger problem, but I don't think that applies to every single player. Not every single player is going out to a nightclub and hanging out someplace at 2 in the morning. Some players have different aspects of things that they like, interests and hobbies. And for the Hurricanes, they just kind of have to figure out what to do here and maybe figure out what that right superstar is. Now, in the meantime, kind of the conversation switches back over to Mikko maybe being a guy that isn't going to be as well received, especially in Carolina, especially because other teams are probably going to be feeling the brunt of what he's able to do in Dallas. And the conversation does kind of swing back over to the whole income tax debate. A lot of fans seem to be very, against that, or at least they want to find a way to kind of go after that a little bit. Tampa Bay, Florida, Dallas, Vegas, all teams that have recently played in the Stanley Cup Final, 3 out of the 4 winning those, does kind of pose a question about, are they getting a one-up where some of these players are kind of invested in a certain way? I don't know how you would kind of go about that, but it is kind of an interesting thing to talk about there in regard. I'm trying to think if there's any other states that don't have an income tax. And of course, Canadian teams talking about this as well too, because taxes in Canada are just extremely high, saying maybe we're put at a serious disadvantage paired with the fact that we are, some of the bigger markets in the league where our players could face, serious problems with the fan base if things don't go very well for them. I don't know. But yeah, for the Carolina Hurricanes, not a great thing to have happen. I'm not so sold on them going on a deep run. And I do think that they have a serious problem the next few years because they want to try to go out there and win the Stanley Cup. And I just think that it's going to be a hard road for them. And other teams might be in a better spot. And some other teams could maybe catch up in the next few years. And for the Hurricanes, you only have so many opportunities. And I just don't know. This is really messy. And for Mikko, I'm not really mad at him. Of course, he gets paid and he decided how he wants to go. But I could imagine as a Hurricanes fan being frustrated. 2 goals in 12 games. This team was hoping for so much more, and it just didn't work out. So what are your thoughts on all this? Who do you think is, telling the total truth, or do you think things are kind of falling in the middle here? Do you think Mikko is kind of being more upfront, where he said right away when he realized he didn't want to be there, things needed to, kind of get moving? Do you think the Hurricanes were kind of blindsided by this? How much of an impact do you think this is going to have on this team? Because Tulski certainly seemed to be impacted for it. Rod seemed to be impacted. I imagine the team is too, as they are not in a spot to go out there and win their division. They are not in a spot to go out there and be a top team in their conference. And they probably have to play underdogs despite being, again, a team that does have talent. But anyway, let me know again down below. Apologize. My nose just kind of clogged right now today. Had to go to Indianapolis. I hate going to Indianapolis just because the traffic is terrible. Everybody honks their horn. I don't know. It's just a busy place. And I grew up in a town that had like 1,000 people or less. And even though I'm in a city now, it's much smaller than Indy. And Indy is just a pain. The roads are bad too. But anyway, again, I'm just kind of rambling. Anyway, everybody, please make sure to stay safe. Have a great night. And you love hockey, all right? Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes. This is your captain signing off. Have a great night.